When we think of college students, a lot of times you think 18 years old. While many adults head back to school to finish a degree or pursue a master's, some adults are going back to school just for fun. Springfield College has a Learning Later in Life program for adults 55 and older, and they have a broad range of courses: music, Shakespeare, politics. Carolee McGrath sat down with Roland Holstead, the program's director, and presenter, Dr. Daniel Russell, to talk about the upcoming session on politics.
So Learning Later Life started actually in 1989. And it was for people 55 years and older, and it was actually suggested by some of the retiring professors at the time who wanted to do something that would continue the stimulation of their mind. And so they came to me at that time, and we instituted the Learning in Later Life.
And what is the age range and the range of topics that people sign up for?
The topics are all over the place. So we have film, we have art, we have opera. We're having it starting on Wednesday, Henry V. One of our English professors is talking about Henry V, and then we're going to go down to Hartford and actually see Henry V performed. So that type of thing. We have music, we have poetry.
And so they bring in Dr. Russell for like the big heavy-hitting topics,
That's
right?
right.
We're talking politics with Dan coming up October 16th, I believe it is.
That's correct.
So the last time you came in, I think it was before the presidential election, and now we have this whole issue of the Supreme Court. So clearly lots to talk about, leading up to the midterm elections as you teach this course.
Yes, the students are very interested in what's going on with the election, clearly. And of course, the Supreme Court was added as an issue since we scheduled this. So that'll add a little spice to the whole session. I was asked back in 1998 if I would do this, and I figured, well, why not? And it would be fun. And before I did it, I realized these are going to be people with a lot of life experience who've been following politics longer than I have, and who read papers all the time. I discovered that was in fact the case, that if I didn't read the New York Times that morning, they were going to tell me what was in it. So, they're a rather demanding but very enjoyable audience to work with.
Tensions are pretty high in this country, left, right, with all the things going on politically. How does a class usually, when people come in for discussion, how does it go?
Well, people come in with questions. Some of them have burning questions. They want to know the answer to this or that, the other thing. And what I do is I begin with an introduction. I talk about, this is going on, that's going on. I'm prepared to talk about, and I give them a short list of things. And I always prepare twice as much as I have time for, because I don't know what people are going to ask me about. Right. And they may not be interested in what I thought was interesting when I was preparing. So I have that ready, and then I give a short introduction, what I think is going on, and then I listen to what they have to say, what questions they have. I always pause after the introduction and say, well, what are you thinking about? Because it may be something that didn't occur to me. And
do you have a wide range of opinions as far as, where people stand on issues?
Well, it's predominantly Democrats, and a lot of them, and it ranges from moderate to very liberal. There are some Republicans who attend, some conservative Democrats.
Do they speak out? Do they feel comfortable saying, wait a second, I have an opposing view?
It varies. Sometimes they are outspoken. Some of them feel intimidated, which is not what I would want for them to feel. And of course, my role is to be balanced. And, I'll tell people what my politics are, but I don't try to insert them in my discussion or analysis.
Just like any college class where you want to give, the younger kids a chance to express themselves and to say, how they're feeling about a certain topic. And so teaching at two different age groups, how do you feel the differences with attentiveness and interest when you're doing a course like this as opposed to perhaps maybe a college freshman?
They're very motivated, they're very interested, and they have a lot more depth of knowledge. And while they may not be able to bring up an event offhand, if I remind them of it, they go, oh yeah, I remember that. And they can start asking questions. Whereas students, 18-year-old students, They don't know anything about the 70s, 80s, or 60s for that matter.
Right. So they wouldn't have that knowledge or that experience. And so you have two parts of this politics with Dan, talking politics with Dan. You have the October one and then November after the midterm elections. Obviously, a lot's at play with the midterm elections. So you're going to be following all this obviously very closely as the rest of the country is. But that's going to be an interesting class, that November class.
Yeah, I try to, when there's an election, whether it's presidential or off year, I try to do one before and one after. The one before, I try to give people some ideas about what's likely to happen, although there's no crystal ball available. And also I say, well, if this happens, what it'll mean, things to look for. So look for what happens in this state, or look what happens in public opinion polls in the week coming up. And so I try to give them a heads up for what they might want to be tuned into as the time comes. And then afterwards, then it's a question of, what happened and what does it mean?